The man outside the corner bakery catches Maya's attention the moment she rounds the corner. Bearded and wearing torn jeans, he sits on the frozen sidewalk, covered in fresh snow. No coat, no blanket, just newspaper beneath him that's already soaked through. Maya's heart does that familiar twist of sympathy. This December morning is a bone-chilling nightmare that seems to seep into her soul. But she's already 15 minutes late for her pitch meeting at Sterling Creative Agency, gripping her battered messenger bag against her chest. She can't afford to be late. Not when her student loans are in default and her credit card company has started sending collection notices. She needs to hurry. Except something about the man makes her stop. Most people in his situation would be curled up, trying to conserve warmth, invisible. This man sits like he's holding court. Even on an icy sidewalk in December, there's something almost commanding about his presence. His back is straight, chin lifted with a confidence that seems completely wrong for his circumstances. And when he looks up and their eyes meet, Maya's breath catches. His gaze is penetrating, not menacing, but intelligent. Too sharp for someone who should be broken by whatever brought him here. But mostly, his eyes are the most striking shade of steel blue she's ever seen. It makes her stumble. Her boot catches black ice and suddenly she's falling. Her messenger bag flies open. Papers scatter across the snowy pavement, her portfolio pieces, the presentation boards she stayed up all night finishing, her phone, her last granola bar. Everything. No, 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 she gasps, dropping to her knees to gather everything before the snow ruins it all. That's when she sees the stranger's hands moving beside hers. Maya tenses, expecting him to grab her phone. She wouldn't even blame him. But instead, he collects her scattered work with methodical care, holding everything out to her with a gentleness that catches her off guard. "I believe these belong to you," he says in a rich, cultured voice that doesn't match his appearance at all. He doesn't ask for money. He just settles back against the brick wall with that same inexplicable dignity. "Thank you," Maya manages, accepting her things with trembling fingers. The crumpled bills in her coat pocket represent her subway fare home. The small cushion that might let her buy dinner tonight if the pitch goes badly. And yet, without overthinking it, she presses the money into his palm. "For you," she says softly. "Get something hot to eat." The way he looks at her makes her chest ache with an emotion she can't name, like she's just performed a miracle instead of basic human decency. "Thank you," he says quietly. Maya nods and turns to rush toward what might be her last chance at keeping her apartment. But then she notices the dark crimson spreading across the snow where the man is sitting. Blood. She stops, pulse hammering as she looks closer. How had she missed it? The man may be composed, but now she sees what the snow and shadows had hidden. His jacket hangs open, revealing a dark, wet stain along his ribs where blood seeps through his flannel shirt. "You're hurt," she exclaims. The man glances down at his side like he's surprised to find it bleeding. "It's nothing," he says. He's too pale, Maya thinks, and his lips have a bluish tinge that has nothing to do with the cold. "That's not nothing," she says firmly. "You need medical attention." She bites her lip. He obviously can't afford a hospital. That much is clear. She thinks of the pitch meeting waiting for her, of her defaulted loans and dwindling options. Then she looks at this mysterious man who helped her, bleeding on a sidewalk with nowhere to go. "Come with me," she says, extending her hand. "I can at least clean that wound and bandage it." Something flickers across his face. Yet he remains perfectly still, staring at her outstretched hand. The silence stretches. "My name is Maya, by the way." Maya chin. She tries an encouraging smile. What's yours? He starts, then stops. His steel blue eyes meet hers, and for the first time, he looks truly lost. I can't remember, he murmurs. The snow continues to fall between them as those words hang in the air. You can't remember? Maya repeats, staring at him in confusion. His name. Where he's from. She wants to ask more, but something in his expression, lost and almost fragile, stops her from pushing. Maybe it's shock from blood loss or trauma from whatever gave him that wound. Either way, interrogating an injured man in the freezing cold isn't helping anyone. It's okay, she says gently. We can figure that out later. He looks at her extended hand for another long moment before slowly reaching out to take it. His fingers are ice cold. She can see the effort it takes for him to stand. There's a drugstore just down the block, she says, leading him away from the corner bakery. I need proper supplies to clean that wound. The pharmacist, an older man with kind eyes, immediately jumps into action. Deep cut, he asks, pulling items from shelves. You'll need antiseptic, gauze, medical tape, and these waterproof bandages. Critical to keep it dry. Infection sets in fast with wounds like that. Maya nods, watching the pile grow. What should he watch for? She asks. Redness spreading from the wound, fever, red streaks going up the body, any foul smell. The pharmacist rings up the total. That'll be $47. Maya's stomach drops. She opens her wallet, counting the bills inside. $22. That's it. She starts, heat flooding her face. I'm sorry. I don't have enough. The pharmacist's expression softens. Do you have anything at home you could use? I have rubbing alcohol, Maya says quickly. And some hydrogen peroxide. That'll work. Just take the bandages then. $15. Relief floods through her as she hands over most of her remaining money. Outside, the nameless man is leaning against the drugstore wall, even paler than before. My apartment's only 6 blocks away, she says, clutching the small bag. I have everything else we need there. It's warm. He looks at her with those unsettling steel blue eyes, and she can see the internal war playing out. It's okay, she says. You're hurt and I'm offering help. That's what people do. Something in her tone seems to decide it. He nods once, sharp and grateful. Maya's apartment building is a weathered 5-story brick structure in Pilsen with a temperamental elevator and hallways that smell like decades of cooking. As they climb the stairs to the 3rd floor, she's acutely aware of her mysterious companion behind her. The quiet way he moves, how he seems to catalog every detail with those penetrating eyes. On her floor, they encounter Mrs. Kowalski from 3A, standing in her bathrobe and fuzzy slippers. Oh, Maya dear, she says, blinking slowly. I need to make tea but I can't remember if I already put the kettle on. Maya's heart sinks. This is the 4th time this week. Mrs. Kowalski, you're not dressed. Let's get you back inside. I'm not. She looks genuinely confused. The stranger steps forward, gently taking Mrs. Kowalski's other arm, helping guide the elderly woman back to her door. Strange, he murmurs so quietly only Maya can hear. What's strange? She whispers back. The smell. Can't you? He trails off, shaking his head. Never mind. Maya doesn't smell anything unusual, just the typical old building mustiness. Once they've settled Mrs. Kowalski safely inside, Maya leads her guest to her own door. Her hands shake slightly as she unlocks it, and suddenly the reality of what she's doing hits her hard. Her apartment feels impossibly small. The stranger seems to fill the entire living room just by standing there, this tall, broad-shouldered man with dirt under his nails and a beard that could hide anything. What if he's dangerous? What if this is the stupidest decision she's ever made? The stranger seems to sense her sudden fear. He stops just inside the doorway, keeping distance, hands visible and open at his sides. "I can go," he says quietly, voice gentle. The way he's giving her an out makes her feel guilty. A dangerous man wouldn't do that, would he? "No," she says, shaking her head. "You're hurt, and there's a blizzard coming." She opens the door wider. "Come in." Her apartment is small but neat, a living room that doubles as her design studio, a galley kitchen, and a bedroom barely big enough for a full-size bed. "But before I look at that wound," she says, taking in his snow-soaked, dirty clothes leaving wet spots on her hardwood floor, "you need to clean up. If I bandage you like this, you'll get an infection for sure." She disappears into her bedroom and returns with men's clothing, sweatpants, a hoodie, clean socks, and underwear. "These belong to my ex," she explains. "He left them when he moved out with his yoga instructor." "Your gain, I guess." The stranger takes the clothes with a grateful nod. "Bathrooms through there," she says, pointing. "There's body wash, shampoo, clean towels. I even have a disposable razor if you want it." While he showers, Maya listens to the water running and tries not to think about the fact that there's a naked stranger in her bathroom. She tries calling Sterling Creative to reschedule, but her contact there sends her straight to voicemail. Well, that opportunity's probably gone. 18 minutes later, the bathroom door opens, and when Maya turns around, her breath catches. Clean-shaven and fresh from the shower, the stranger is stunning. Breathtaking in a way that makes her lungs seize. How had she not noticed before that he has features like a Greek statue? Strong jaw, high cheekbones, perfectly shaped mouth. She stares a moment too long, heat creeping up her neck. "Right," she says, voice slightly hoarse. "Let's clean that wound." The injury is worse than she thought. A deep, clean puncture with severe bruising around the edges. "This looks like a stab wound," she says, keeping her voice steady as she applies hydrogen peroxide. "When did this happen?" "Few hours ago," he replies, voice tight with controlled pain. "Some men were unhappy that I'd taken their spot to get out of the snow. One had a blade. Things escalated." Maya pauses. "They stabbed you over a spot on the sidewalk?" "When territory is all you have," he says quietly, eyes steady on hers, "no matter how small, you defend it." The wound is finally clean. She applies antibiotic ointment carefully. He flinches slightly. "You really should see a doctor." "This will have to do," he says simply. Outside, the wind howls. He glances at the window, then at her. "Stay," she says firmly, smoothing down the last strip of tape. "At least until the blizzard passes." He studies her, steel blue eyes unreadable, then nods. "Just until the blizzard passes," he agrees. As if on cue, thunder rumbles overhead and the lights flicker. That night, Maya lies awake listening to the storm rage outside. Every creak of the old building makes her hyper-aware of the stranger sleeping on her couch. Sure, he looks like a fallen angel, but that doesn't mean he's safe. She must drift off eventually because she finds herself dreaming of padding to the kitchen for water. Instead of the stranger on her couch, there's a massive wolf stretched across the cushions. The creature is enormous, sleeping peacefully with its head on the armrest. Even in sleep, there's something majestic about it, something wild yet strangely familiar. She wonders distantly why she's not afraid of finding a giant wolf in her living room. What a weird dream. The next morning, the blizzard is still battering the windows when Maya emerges from her bedroom. "Good morning," her guest says, turning to offer her a steaming mug. "I hope you don't mind. I made coffee." "No, that's perfect," she says, accepting gratefully. "You didn't have to." She studies his face in the morning light. Clean-shaven and rested, he looks even more striking. There's something almost aristocratic in the way he holds himself, even in her ex's borrowed sweatpants. "Are you hungry?" she asks. "I could make breakfast." As she moves around the kitchen pulling out eggs and bread, she notices him examining her small bookshelf. Her collection isn't extensive, mostly design books and secondhand novels. "Crime and Punishment," he says, touching the spine of one book. Maya pauses, spatula in hand. "Have you read it?" His brow furrows in concentration. "I think so. I remember enjoying it." "So you do remember some things?" Maya observes carefully. The question seems to pain him. "Not really. Nothing beyond waking up in an alley about 8 weeks ago," he says. "I don't know how I got there." "Maybe a head injury," Maya suggests gently. "I had no injuries when I woke up," he replies. "Just emptiness." He looks back at the book. This is the first thing that feels even slightly familiar. I remember particularly connecting with one of the characters. Raskolnikov. He was conflicted, struggling with morality, searching for redemption. Maya's heart aches for him. "Then that should be your name," she says impulsively. "Until you remember your real one." "Ras." "Ras," he repeats slowly. "That's acceptable." Maya can't help but smile at his formal tone. Ras suddenly goes rigid, his head snapping up like he's heard something. "What's wrong?" Maya asks, turning off the burner. He doesn't answer, instead rising and moving to the center of the room, nostrils flaring as he sniffs the air. "Can't you smell that?" he asks urgently. Maya inhales deeply. "Smell what?" "The toast burning?" "No," he says. "Something else. Something wrong." Before she can respond, he bolts for the door. "What the?" Maya mutters, following him into the hallway. She spots him halfway down the stairs, trying to force open a door on the ground floor. "That's locked," she calls. "It leads to the furnace room." Ras ignores her, throwing his shoulder against the door. "Stop," Maya says, hurrying down. "You need a..." The door gives way with a loud crack, and Ras disappears inside. Maya stares at the broken doorframe in shock. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to get in trouble with my landlord." The basement is dark and cramped, filled with ancient heating equipment. She can see Ras near the furnace, examining something with intense focus. "Seriously, you can't be down here," she tries again. "Stay back," he orders. "There's a leak. You can't be in here. It's dangerous." "What?" Maya lets him pull her back up the stairs. "What kind of leak?" "Carbon monoxide," Ras says, dragging her toward the building's exit. "We need to call 911. Now." "Okay, I have my phone upstairs." "No. Not safe." He's already pulling her outside into the storm. snow immediately soaking through their clothes. The nearest cafe is half a block away, but Ras seems to know exactly where he's going. Emergency, he tells the barista tersely. We need to use your phone. 20 minutes later, Maya watches from across the street as firefighters stream into her building. The fire chief confirms a serious gas leak in the basement. Carbon monoxide has been seeping into the building for weeks. Don't know how you detected it, one firefighter tells Ras. Carbon monoxide is odorless. Ras looks like he's about to disagree when Maya's landlord, Mr. Castellano, arrives looking harried and annoyed. What's all this about? He demands, glaring at Maya. Did you cause this mess? There's a gas leak, Maya explains. It could have killed people. The ventilation system just needs adjustment, Castellano mutters, then catches himself. I mean, you're all overreacting. Ras steps forward. You knew. His voice is cold, precise. You knew there was a ventilation problem and did nothing. Castellano takes a step back. Now see here. You have a legal responsibility to maintain safe living conditions, Ras continues, tone sharp. Negligent failure to maintain proper gas detection and ventilation is a clear violation of housing codes. People could have died. Mrs. Kowalski has been getting confused and sick, Elaine interrupts, pieces clicking together. That's why she's been so disoriented. She's been slowly poisoned. Castellano's face goes pale. Look, nobody needs to make this a big deal. You're going to be hearing from my attorneys, Ras says flatly, voice carrying a threat that makes even Maya shiver. Negligent endangerment, violation of housing codes. Wait, Castellano says desperately. Maybe we can work something out. How about 4 months free rent? You're joking, Ras cuts him off, steel blue eyes blazing. You endangered lives through criminal negligence. Ras, Maya says quietly, placing a hand on his arm. Can I talk to you for a minute? She can feel the tension radiating from him, but he allows her to pull him aside. Look, she says in a low voice, I appreciate what you're doing, but nobody here can afford lawyers. Certainly not you. Ras's mouth opens like he's about to protest. Then it closes and he blinks like he's only just remembered that fact. That's not the point, he says eventually. He can't be allowed to get away with this. He's not getting away with it, Maya says firmly. He's offering 4 months free rent for everyone. That's real help right now. Everyone is safe thanks to you. That's what matters. She watches him wrestle with this. Sees the moment his rigid posture starts to relax. The hard edges of his authority soften and he looks almost vulnerable again. Who are you really, Ras? Maya wonders. Later that evening, when the fire department finally gives the all-clear, Maya and Ras climb the stairs to her apartment in companionable silence. Let me check your wound, Maya says once they're inside. Ras nods, settling onto the couch and lifting the borrowed hoodie. Maya kneels beside him, fingers working to carefully peel back the bandage. Then she freezes. That's not possible, she whispers. Where the deep puncture wound had been just the night before, there's now only smooth, unmarked skin. Not even a scar remains. I don't understand, Ras says, staring down at his own torso with the same bewilderment she feels. Maya runs her finger lightly over where the wound had been. I was worried about infection, about you needing stitches, she murmurs. Maybe it wasn't as deep as we thought, Ras suggests, but his voice lacks conviction. Maybe, Maya agrees weakly. They stare at each other in the lamplight, sharing mutual confusion. But the confusion fades, and as the silence stretches, Maya becomes acutely aware of how close they are. How she's still kneeling beside him, her hand resting on his bare chest. Her breath catches when he lifts his hand, fingers hovering just above her cheek. Then reality crashes back in. "I should go," Ras says, pulling his hoodie down, standing abruptly. "Go?" she repeats. "I'm better," he says. "You've been more than kind, but I should give you your space back." Maya feels a strange urge to protest, to find reasons why he should stay. But none make sense. He's right. He's healed. The crisis is over. "Of course," she says instead, forcing a smile. "Let me pack you some food." When she returns, Ras is folding his old clothes. "Keep those," she says, nodding to what he's wearing. "They fit you better anyway." "Are you sure?" "Trust me, I never want to see them again." The bitterness in her voice surprises them both. Ras takes the bag of food, fingers brushing hers. "Thank you," he says quietly. "For everything. Your kindness, your home. I don't know how to repay you." "It was nothing," Maya assures him. "No," Ras tells her, something fierce in his voice. "It wasn't nothing. You helped a stranger when you had every reason not to. You shared your food, your home, your safety." He pauses, troubled. "I don't remember who I was before, but I don't think I was kind. I don't think I would have done what you did." And then he's gone, leaving her standing in her suddenly too quiet apartment, staring at the empty couch. 2 days pass in a blur of ordinary routine that feels completely wrong. Maya goes to freelance gigs, comes home to her empty apartment, and tries to pretend she doesn't keep glancing at the couch where Ras had slept. She tells herself it's ridiculous. She knew him for less than 48 hours. People don't form attachments that quickly to complete strangers. But then the storm hits. It starts as heavy snow around noon, the kind that makes Chicago's infrastructure struggle and turns streets into skating rinks. By evening, it's upgraded to apocalyptic. Howling winds rattle her windows, ice forms on the glass, and snow falls so thick she can barely see the building across the street. Maya paces her apartment, checking weather reports obsessively. All she can think about is Ras somewhere out there in this nightmare weather with nothing but borrowed clothes. By 9 o'clock, she can't stand it anymore. She pulls on her heaviest coat, grabs a scarf, and ventures into the storm. The wind nearly knocks her over the moment she steps outside. The streets are almost deserted except for the occasional snowplow. Snow drifts pile against buildings, and she has to hold on to walls to keep from being blown over. She makes it to the spot where she first found him. Empty except for snow-covered debris. Where would he go? Where could anyone go in this? She's about to give up, frozen and shivering violently, when she spots a figure huddled in a narrow alcove between buildings. "Ras," she calls out, fighting to be heard over the wind. He looks up, and even through the snow, she can see his surprise. "Maya." They share a look across the storm-lashed space between them. "You're still here," she says, gesturing to the area where she'd first found him. A small smile tugs at his mouth. "Well, I thought, just in case." The way he says it makes her chest tight. Just in case of what? In case she came looking for him. The possibility sends warmth flooding through her despite the cold. "Come back with me," she says impulsively. "Please. You can't stay out here in this weather." "Maya." "What if there's another gas leak?" she interrupts. "What if I need someone with super smell to save the building?" "Super smell?" Ras looks like he's fighting a smile. A particularly strong gust sends debris flying past them. His hand comes up to steady her, fingers gentle but firm on her arm. "The storm's getting worse," she says quietly. "I won't be able to sleep knowing you're out here." He looks at her for a long moment, snow collecting in his dark hair. "You don't even know me," he says. "That's not true," she protests. The admission feels heavier than it should. You're my friend. "Come home with me, Ras," she says softly. "Just until the storm passes." He nods finally, and she feels relief flood through her so strongly it's almost dizzying. "Just until the storm passes," he agrees. Back in her apartment, they stand dripping in her small entryway. "I should get you a towel," Maya says, acutely aware of how his wet clothes cling to his frame. "That would be good," Ras agrees. She bustles around gathering dry clothes and towels, trying to ignore how her pulse quickens. You can change," she says, gesturing vaguely. "I'll give you privacy. You should rest. It's late." "Yes," he agrees, but makes no move toward the couch. "All right." They stand there in her small living room, the weight of unspoken things pressing down on them. "Well," Maya says finally, "good night." She escapes to her bedroom, but sleep is impossible. Not with him on the other side of the wall. Every creak, every shift of the couch, every breath sounds like it's right next to her. After what feels like an hour, she gives up. Barefoot, she creeps to the door and presses her ear against it. Silence. She eases it open and peeks out. The living room is washed in streetlight filtering through the window. Ras is sitting on the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, staring out at the snow, watchful, like he's searching for something in the night. "Can't sleep either," she whispers. He turns his head toward her voice. Even in the dim light, his eyes seem to gleam. "No," he says softly. She steps out, suddenly aware of her thin sleep shirt and bare legs. The air feels charged. "I thought maybe I'd make some tea," she says, trying to sound casual. "Chamomile. It helps sometimes." "Help," he repeats, and there's something in his tone she can't quite identify. She clears her throat. "Would you like some?" She's already reaching for the kettle when she hears him stand. Footsteps behind her, slow, deliberate. And when she turns, he's there. She backs up instinctively, the counter pressing into her lower back. He follows, stopping just shy of touching her. "Maya," he murmurs, voice rough. She wets her lips. His head dips lower, and she feels the brush of his nose against her throat. "I don't want tea," he murmurs, lips grazing her skin. She swallows. "No." Her hands fly to his chest, meant to push, but they don't. They curl into his shirt instead, pulling him closer. "You smell like winter and warmth," he replies. "And something sweeter underneath." "Ras," she breathes, her whole body thrumming. "You've been so kind to me," he whispers. "Let me show you how grateful I am." The kiss crashes over them like the storm outside. Hungry, desperate, overdue. He kisses her like he's remembering something with his body before his mind can catch up. Like her mouth is a secret he's known in another life. The tea is forgotten entirely. Maya wakes to the soft clink of ceramic and the gentle hiss of the stove. She pads barefoot into the kitchen, cotton sleep shirt clinging to warm skin. Ras stands at the stove, barefoot in borrowed sweatpants. When he turns to look at her, his steel blue eyes catch the morning light, and his slow smile nearly brings her to her knees. "Morning," he rumbles, voice still thick from sleep. "Morning," she says, suddenly shy. He hands her a mug, fingers brushing hers, and her stomach flutters with soft, nervous excitement. "The storm's over," she murmurs. "So it is," he says, eyes focused on her. "You could stay another day," she hesitates. "Just to be safe." The forecast mentioned possible freezing rain. A beat of silence, then his mouth twitches. "Freezing rain," he echoes, stepping forward with a glint in his eyes. "I see. You're just being responsible." "I am extremely responsible," she replies, chin lifting. "Yes," he agrees, voice rough as his fingers tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. "You are." When he kisses her, it's slow and warm, tasting like coffee and something deeper, something unspoken. Her body leans into him before her mind catches up. "Just one more day," he murmurs against her lips. But one day becomes two, then a week, then more. They fall into an easy rhythm, except nothing about it is easy. Every brush of skin feels electric. Every look lingers a beat too long. "I'm just grateful," he says one afternoon, backing her against the counter, mouth ghosting her jaw. "You saved my life. Let me show my appreciation." "This is appreciation," she pants as his fingers tease the edge of her waistband. "Deep, soul-deep gratitude," he confirms before kneeling to demonstrate just how grateful he can be. They joke about their arrangement. Maya calling him her houseguest. Ras insisting he's earning his keep in increasingly creative ways. But underneath the humor is something deeper, more intense. Like the way his eyes go flat and predatory when another man flirts with her at the bodega. Or the way he growls low and quiet when he kisses her neck where her pulse beats loudest. "You're insatiable," she gasps one night as he presses her into the couch cushions. "For you," he breathes, voice rough with need. "Only ever for you." Ras isn't content to simply live in her space. He approaches her apartment's problems with systematic efficiency. He doesn't just fix the leaky faucet. He reorganizes the entire plumbing system. "You don't have to do all this," Maya says, holding a wrench he handed her without explanation, standing on a stepladder. "It's inefficient to let problems accumulate," he says matter-of-factly. Small issues become systemic failures. Soon, Ras's organizational skills extend beyond her apartment. He creates maintenance schedules for the building, rotation charts for helping Mrs. Kowalski that somehow get implemented without anyone remembering agreeing to them. "You have a way with people," Maya observes one evening as they climb the stairs. "It's like you instinctively know how to get them to do what you want." Ras stops so suddenly she nearly collides with him. "Is that a bad thing?" he asks, genuinely curious. "No," she says, acutely aware of his fingers on her elbow. "It's just unusual." Later, when they're tangled in bed, he kisses down her neck with barely restrained hunger. She feels his teeth graze her skin, sharper than they should be. Something in his breathing trembles. "I shouldn't." Instead, he sinks his mouth into her skin and leaves marks shaped like his hunger. One afternoon at their usual cafe, Maya excuses herself for the bathroom. When she returns, she finds a woman leaning against their table, talking to Ras with obvious interest. The surge of possessiveness that hits her is so powerful it stops her mid-step. The woman laughs at something Ras says, leaning closer, and Maya feels like she can't breathe. What right does she have to feel jealous when they're just, what? Roommates with benefits? But watching the stranger flirt with him, seeing the polite charm in Ras's responses, Maya realizes with startling clarity that she doesn't want to be just anything to him. She wants to be everything. The thought hits her like a freight train. She's in love with him. When did that happen? When did the mysterious man she'd rescued become the person she can't imagine living without? Her mind is reeling. She's in love with a man whose real name she doesn't even know. A man who might see her as nothing more than temporary shelter and convenient companionship. You've been somewhere else since the cafe, Ras observes on the way home, nostrils flaring slightly as if reading her mood through scent. I'm fine. Just thinking. He studies her face for a long moment, then nods. Tell you what. Let me cook tonight. You don't have to. I want to, he says firmly, cupping her face in his hands. Let me take care of you. His thumb brushes across her lips and she finds herself leaning into the touch like she's drawn to him by magnetic force. Okay, she whispers. He smiles, slow, sharp, full of promise. Good. I'll be back in an hour. She's still standing there, smiling to herself, when a harsh voice cuts through her thoughts. You should be ashamed of yourself. Maya spins around to see a well-dressed middle-aged man striding toward her, face twisted with disgust. His expensive overcoat and confident bearing scream money, but his expression is filled with rage. Excuse me? Maya says, taken aback. Being with that man, he says, voice getting louder. Do you conveniently ignore all the lives he's ruined because he's good-looking? I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. Adrian Thornfield, the man spits. CEO of Thornfield Enterprises. Maya frowns in confusion. Don't play dumb with me. I saw you with him. Wait. Maya shakes her head. Are you talking about Ras? Ras? The man scoffs. You think I wouldn't recognize the man who forced me to sell my startup, then gutted it, sold off the profitable divisions, and discarded the rest? Hundreds of people lost their jobs because of him. I think you have the wrong person, Maya protests. He's not he's homeless. He has amnesia. Amnesia? The man laughs harshly. The man's worth billions. He's probably running some elaborate scheme, tax evasion, hiding assets, who knows what. Maya remembers Ras's wound, the poor condition he'd been living in, and above all the lost looks he'd get whenever he tried to remember his past. You're wrong, she insists, but doubt is already creeping in. All those contradictions about Ras, his refined speech, his business knowledge, the way he commanded situations like he was used to being in charge. I have to go, she whispers. Look, kid, the man says, his anger fading into something like pity. Maybe you truly didn't know. But now you do. If I were you, I'd stay away from this man. Maya sits at a wooden table in the Harold Washington Library, surrounded by stacks of old newspapers and magazines. She's been at it for 3 hours, combing through back issues of Forbes, TechCrunch, and the Chicago Tribune. Every search for Adrian Thornfield brings up the same impossible truth. There he is on Inc.'s 30 Under 30. On a Bloomberg cover story, Tech's New Titans, with a photo that makes her stomach twist. Ras in a tailored suit, standing in a glass-walled office high above downtown San Francisco, accompanied by photos of his sprawling estate in Marin County, his penthouse in the Gold Coast, his collection of vintage cars. Maya stares at the images, feeling smaller and more insignificant with each one. The man in these photos belongs to a world so far removed from her cramped third-floor walk-up that they might as well be different species. The article describes his ruthless business acumen and aggressive expansion strategies. Thornfield Enterprises is based in San Francisco, nearly 2,000 miles from Chicago. She buys the magazine and stumbles home. Ras is in the kitchen wearing borrowed sweatpants, stirring a pot like he belongs there. The sight guts her. Him barefoot in her kitchen, playing house like it's real. Like any of this is real. Maya throws the magazine at him. It hits his chest and falls to the floor, pages splaying open to reveal his face staring up from the glossy cover. The silence that follows is deafening. Ras stares down at the magazine, and Maya sees the exact moment recognition flickers across his features. "Have you been lying to me?" she asks, voice barely above a whisper. "Is this all some kind of joke?" "No," he protests immediately, shaking his head. "Maya, Adrian Thornfield," she reads from the cover. Net worth $3.2 billion. CEO of Thornfield Enterprises. She looks up. "That's you, isn't it?" Ras's mouth opens and closes like he can't find words. I don't remember any of that," he ends up whispering. "A man came up to me today," Maya continues. "He knew you. He said you destroyed his company." "That's not," Ras looks up from the magazine. "I would never." "Look at yourself," Maya says, gesturing to the open pages. "Look at that house, that office. You could buy my entire building with pocket change." The photographs mock her with their opulence. She thinks of her own reflection in the bathroom mirror this morning. Tired eyes, thrift store clothes. "I don't remember being that person," he insists, desperation in his voice. "It doesn't matter," Maya says, turning away from him because looking at his face hurts too much. She feels like she's losing him, like he's already slipping away into that glittering world where she could never follow. "Now that you know who you are, you can go home," she murmurs. "Maya. You're not going to stay here now, are you?" She flips to the photo spread of his Marin County estate. "Look at this. You could be living in a mansion instead. Come on." Ras's voice becomes strained. "We don't even know if that's really me. Could be a look-alike." Maya shakes her head and moves past him toward the kitchen. "Let's have dinner then, shall we?" "Oh wait. Why would you have dinner here when you could be dining at some Michelin-starred restaurant within the hour?" "Adrian, that name means nothing to me," he snaps. "That man said you were lying," Maya continues. "That you're probably evading taxes or hiding assets. And you believed him?" Ras's voice cracks. "Just like that? Some stranger on the street?" The pain in his voice makes her want to take it all back, to apologize and pretend none of this ever happened. But she can't. The photographs are right there, proof of a life so far beyond her reach it might as well be fantasy. "No," Maya says, voice small and broken. "I know you didn't lie about the amnesia. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. It's over. This," she waves between them, "can't go on anymore." "And why not?" Ras challenges, tone quiet. "Because why would it? Why would you choose this?" She gestures around her tiny apartment. "When you could have that?" She holds up the photo of his estate, the image blurring through her tears. "Because you're not in there," Ras whispers, pointing at the pictures. "You're here." They stare at each other across the small space, the weight of unspoken feelings hanging between them. Maya's heart cracks a little more with each passing second. "Look, you should go," she says finally. "Call your company or something." "I don't want to." "Yeah, well, I want you to. You're in my home." Rass's eyes actually flash like light reflecting off metal. You want me to leave? He asks. Maya doesn't reply. Can't trust her voice. She's afraid if she speaks, she'll take it all back. Beg him to stay. Maya. His voice is rougher now, with an edge she's never heard before. It's almost a growl. Yes, she whispers, the word tearing something vital inside her chest. I want you to leave. Rass looks like he might argue, shoulders tense with tension, and then he winces, his face contorting in pain, and suddenly he stumbles, one hand going to his chest like something inside is trying to claw its way out. What's wrong? Maya asks, alarm cutting through her anger. He doesn't reply, just makes a sound that's part gasp, part moan. His breathing becomes labored and sweat beads on his forehead despite the cool evening air. Rass? Fear replaces her anger as she watches him struggle. What's wrong? He crouches down, his whole body trembling. His hands are clenched into fists. Rass. Elaine's voice comes out as a whisper, terror replacing every other emotion. He makes a sound that's part grunt, part growl, and then his bones begin to crack and stretch audibly. Silver-gray fur sprouts across his skin as his clothes tear and fall away in tatters. His hands become claws. His teeth become fangs. And his spine curves and extends until where Rass had been crouching, there's now a massive wolf with glowing steel-blue eyes. Maya screams, the sound ripping from her throat involuntarily. The wolf, Rass, looks at her with those familiar eyes for one heartbreaking moment. Then he turns and leaps through her window, shattering the glass as he disappears into the night. Maya stands frozen in her wrecked apartment, surrounded by shattered glass and torn fabric, staring at the broken window where Rass disappeared. The silence after the chaos is deafening. First, gentle, mysterious Rass is actually a ruthless billionaire CEO. And now he turned into a wolf right in front of her. I'm losing my mind, she whispers, running her hands through her hair. I'm actually losing my mind. She sees his face again right before the shift, the confusion, the pain. And afterward, the way the wolf had looked at her with such heartbreak. She replays it again and again. The soft whine when she screamed. The way he flinched like her fear physically hurt him. And now he's alone out there, she says. The thought jolts her. Rass, Adrian, whoever he is, had been confused and scared and she sent him away. The guilt hits hard. She grabs her jacket. She has to find him. Explain something. She can't leave it like this. Not when she's in love with him. Not after the way he looked at her. The streets are eerily quiet for early evening. Maya hurries toward the area where she first found him, scanning every alley, every shadow. Rass, she calls softly, not wanting to draw attention but desperate for him to hear. Rass, please. She's halfway down the block when hands grab her from behind. What? She starts to scream, but a rough hand clamps over her mouth. She's yanked into the narrow space between two buildings. Her heart pounds as she struggles, biting the hand, kicking wildly. But there are at least two men, maybe three, and they're stronger. Richardson, someone says behind her. Is that her? Through the panic, she sees the man who'd recognized Rass' earlier step from the shadows. Yes, he says, eyeing her with something close to pity. One of the men shoves a wad of cash into Richardson's hand. Payment as agreed. Maya's eyes widen. She thrashes harder, tries to scream, but someone presses a cloth over her nose and mouth. The chemical stench makes her gag. Don't worry, Richardson says, his voice fading as the drug takes hold. They won't hurt you. They just need bait to draw out Thornfield. Maya wakes to a pounding headache and the bitter taste of chemicals in her mouth. She's zip-tied to a metal chair in an abandoned warehouse. The air thick with rust and decay. Yellow streetlight filters in through broken windows high above. 3 men circle her like predators. Big, muscular, too still. Something about their movements reminds her of Ras. She's awake, one says. Good. Another crouches to her eye level. Now we wait for the alpha to come running. The leader pulls a knife, testing its edge on his thumb. Either way, she's done her job. Richardson said to make sure Thornfield suffers, didn't he? Terror grips her as the blade comes closer. Please don't. Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll make it quick. Then comes the growl. Low, primal, inhuman. It vibrates through the floor and up her spine. The men freeze. I thought you said he didn't shift anymore, one whispers. Shut up. Get ready. From the shadows, a massive wolf steps into the light. Bigger than before. Silver-gray fur like moonlight. Steel blue eyes locked on the knife near her throat. Well, the leader sneers, not lowering the blade. Look what crawled out of the gutter. The wolf steps forward. The men move, surrounding her. You remember how this works, don't you? One more step and she dies. Ras stops, eyes locked on the blade. 3 shifters, 1 human shield. Here's what you're going to do. You shift back. Slow. Then we talk payback. Maya sees the tension in his body. Rage fighting restraint. Ras, don't. The man backhands her. Her head snaps sideways. Shut up. That's when Ras snaps. He lunges, not at the leader, but the man to his left. The element of surprise gives him the edge. Teeth clamp down. Blood sprays. Chaos erupts. The leader turns, knife forgotten for a breath. It's enough. Ras releases his first target and pivots toward Maya. The third shifter starts to shift, but Ras barrels through him like nothing, focused only on her. The leader lifts the blade, but Ras slams into him. They crash into crates, the knife clattering away. All 3 men shift now, bones cracking, bodies stretching. But they're smaller. Ras fights like something possessed, wild and precise. They come at him in tandem, snapping at his legs, trying to bring him down. The floor runs with blood. Some his, most theirs. One by one they falter, limping, beaten. Only the leader remains. He snarls, backing toward the window. He vanishes into the dark. Ras sways. Blood mats his fur. He takes 1 step toward Maya and collapses. Ras. Maya breaks free from the damaged restraints and drops to her knees. His form begins to shift. Moments later, he lies naked and bleeding on the concrete, pale, still. Ras, she whispers, cradling his head. Her hands press uselessly against the worst of the wounds. Wake up. His eyes flutter open, unfocused. He looks at her, dazed. Maya, what happened to me? I remember being angry and then. You didn't know? She asks, stunned. About the wolf thing? You really didn't know? He groans, trying to sit, then collapses again. Those men, they knew me. They said. You're bleeding too much, Maya interrupts. I need to get you help. Maya, he whispers, his hand finding hers. What if they're right? What if I really am a monster? No, she says fiercely. The man I know is good. He's kind. You just risked everything to save me. Her voice cracks. I love you, Ras. Whoever you were, whatever your name is. His eyes widen slightly at her confession, but before he can respond, they roll back and he goes limp in her arms. Help! Maya screams into the empty warehouse. Somebody help us. That's when she hears the sound of expensive cars pulling up outside, followed by rapid footsteps. He's here, a voice calls out. 3 figures in tailored suits burst through the warehouse entrance, moving with the same predatory grace as the men who'd attacked them. But these newcomers scan the space with professional efficiency, their eyes immediately locking onto Maya. Alpha, the largest of the 3, a man with salt and pepper hair and cold gray eyes, rushes forward, dropping to his knees beside them. Adrian, can you hear me? Please help us, Maya gasps. He's bleeding out. We need to get him to a hospital. Hospital? The woman in the group, auburn-haired and sharp-featured, sneers at Maya. What for? What do you mean what for? Maya asks. He's dying. The Alpha doesn't need your human hospital, the third man, younger, with wire-rimmed glasses and a leather portfolio, says dismissively. Maya tries to reach for Ras again, calling his name, but the gray-haired man moves her aside. Though, the one with the portfolio continues, maybe we could accelerate the process a bit. If he could make it to tomorrow's shareholder meeting, that would save us considerable time. The investors are getting restless. These people are crazy, Maya mutters. But then the woman produces a syringe from her jacket and plunges it directly into Ras's chest. No. Maya yelps, but suddenly Ras gasps and sits upright, his eyes snapping open with startling clarity. The 3 newcomers immediately incline their heads in perfect synchronization. Alpha, they say in unison. Welcome back, the one with the portfolio says, pulling out documents. If I could just get your signature on this acquisition agreement really quickly. For crying out loud, Maya explodes. He's wounded. Leave him alone. But Ras blinks, takes a quick look at the document, and his entire demeanor shifts. What the hell, Marcus? He snarls, ripping the papers to shreds. This contract's absolute garbage. What did I tell you about doing business with the Redmond Group? You've got to hold them by the throat, otherwise they'll bleed you dry. Marcus blinks back what might be tears of relief. Oh, thank God you're back, Alpha. We've been so lost without you. You're an incompetent fool, Marcus, Ras continues coldly. But sir, where have you been? What happened? We've been searching for months. None of your business, Ras cuts him off with icy precision. Isn't it your job to know these things beforehand, not ask stupid questions afterward? The woman sniffs delicately. Alpha, now that you've dealt with those 3, what should we do? Do we retaliate? Make an example? We need to send a message, the gray-haired man agrees. Show the other packs what happens when they target us. Maya feels like she's watching strangers. And she is, because this cold, calculating man giving orders is not someone she recognizes. Where is the gentle person who made her coffee in the mornings? What do we do about the human? The woman asks suddenly, pointing at Maya. Ras's gaze snaps to her, and for just a moment, half a second, something flickers across his face. Then escort her home, he says flatly. Make sure she signs the NDAs. Wait, Maya starts, reaching for him, but hands are already pulling her to her feet. As they lead her toward a waiting car, Maya looks back desperately. The man she fell in love with, gentle, lost Ras, who made her coffee in the mornings and worried about Mrs. Kowalski, might as well have never existed at all. 2 weeks feels like 2 years. Maya stares at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the woman looking back. Dark circles, limp hair, a few extra pounds. The whole building has been trying to feed her since he left. Even Mr. Castellano brought pastries, hovering awkwardly in her doorway. "We miss seeing you and Ras together," Mrs. Kowalski had said gently. Such a nice young man. Maya swallowed the lump in her throat. How do you tell someone you're mourning a man who might never have existed? He disappeared without a word. Just a team of lawyers at her door the next morning, armed with NDAs and confidentiality agreements. Sign here and here. Initial here. Thank you for your discretion. Deposit appeared in her account. Useful, yes, but it made her feel cheap. Erased. Not a word from him. The one silver lining, her job. Thanks to Adrian's resume overhaul, she landed a position at a prestigious design firm. But success feels hollow when you have no one to share it with. Her days blur into meetings and emails. And tonight, walking home from another long day of pretending to care, the sky opens up. Snow pours in relentless sheets, the same kind that brought them together. Without thinking, her feet lead her somewhere else. Not home. To the corner bakery. It's smaller than she remembers, dirtier. Just a narrow spot outside the entrance, unremarkable, except that it changed everything. She stands in the exact spot where she found him. Snow soaks through her jacket. How could she have known that the man sitting here, lost, vulnerable, was a corporate titan, a supernatural being? And yet even then she'd felt something, a pull, like he was already important. Whereas she is just Maya Chen. Ordinary. The girl who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and had her heart completely broken. The snow suddenly stops hitting her, though she can still hear it falling around her. She blinks, confused. There's an umbrella over her head. She turns slowly, afraid of what she'll find, or worse, what she won't find. But he's there, holding a black umbrella over them both. His hair is shorter, professionally styled. He's clean-shaven, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably costs more than her rent. But his eyes, those unusual steel blue eyes, are exactly the same. "You're still here," he says softly, voice achingly familiar. She shrugs, throat tight. "Yeah, well," she murmurs, "just in case." Something like hope flickers across his face, but she steels herself against it, against him. The last time she saw this man, he walked away without a backward glance. "So," she says, finding her voice. "You remember everything then?" He hesitates. "Yes," he admits after a beat. "I do." "Good." She gives him a small, tight smile. "Convenient. I mean, for all those business deals your associates seem to need you for." His smile tightens into something nervous. "Yes," he says. "I suppose so." Snow drums against the umbrella, creating a private world around them. He looks at her carefully. "How have you been?" he asks. "Well, I haven't been kidnapped in a while, so there's that," she replies, making him wince. "Maya, I am so deeply sorry for what happened that night. It was entirely my fault you got hurt. If I had known." "You know what hurt more than being grabbed by those men?" she interrupts. The fact that you just disappeared afterward. Without a word. Without so much as a goodbye. Pain flashes across his face. I'm sorry, he says again. And she believes he means it, which somehow makes it worse. When I woke up with all my memories intact, I was concerned, alarmed, actually. How had I forgotten everything? Who had done that to me? He runs a hand through his hair. I don't have many friends, Maya, but I have plenty of enemies. I wasn't even sure I could trust my own pack. I needed to understand what had happened before I saw you again. And he breaks off, reaching toward her face before pulling his hand back. I wanted to get you away from all of it. I was afraid that if anyone suspected I cared about you, they'd try to use you against me again. The sincerity in his voice touches something in her, but she's been hurt too badly to let her guard down easily. You could have called, she sighs. And risk someone listening in? When he sees her surprised expression, he adds, yes, turns out I'm a bit paranoid with my memories back. Comes with being on top. Right. On top. She shakes her head. So, you got your memories back and remembered you're some big corporate CEO. I remembered I'm a lot of things, he interrupts, and none of them particularly good. His eyes darken. All those things you heard about me that night? They're true. She reaches for him without thinking. Her hand on his arm seems to calm him, and he looks surprised at the contact. It's how I got cursed, he explains. Cursed? To lose your memories? It was a curse? Like magic? When he nods, she adds, magic is real? His lips quirk in a small, almost amused smile. Well, how did you think I turned into a wolf? Yeah, about that. She hesitates. Is that a regular thing you can do? His smile falls. Yes, he says carefully. I'm a shifter. I'm a man, but I'm also not. Part of me isn't. Maya thinks back to all the things that had puzzled her about him. His acute sense of smell. The way he'd sometimes growl when frustrated. Yeah, she says slowly. That kind of checks out. He watches her reaction closely. Does it bother you? Maya scoffs. Is that why you're here? Worried I'll tell someone your secret? No, Raz says quickly. I'm not worried about that. I trust you. Then what are you worried about? He takes a deep breath. You have to understand that I'm not a good person, Maya. Not really. That's why I got cursed in the first place. He continues before she can interrupt. My ex-fiancé, who I should confess I only got engaged to in order to pressure her family into signing a massive merger deal, cursed me after I broke things off. She had me kidnapped and dumped in this city so no one would find me. Maya makes a face and he pauses. Sorry, she says. I'm just debating whether you deserved it or not. A surprised laugh escapes him. I probably did, he admits. After getting my memories back, I tracked down what Camille had done. The curse was designed to only break if someone truly fell in love with me. Me, without my money or power or influence. She was convinced it would never happen, that I'd be stuck like that forever. Maya feels heat rise to her cheeks. Oh. When I was sitting outside that corner bakery and you found me, you said, he pauses. I remember what you said. She interrupts, sighing. I remember what I said. He looks dejected at her tone, his shoulders dropping slightly. Right, he says carefully. He hesitates, then asks, and now, do you think, perhaps in time you could still love me? Now that I'm this? He gestures to himself. This? Maya repeats. I'm still all those terrible things I was before, he says, words coming faster now. I still run a cutthroat company. I still make decisions that hurt people. I'm still surrounded by others just as ruthless as I am. But the thing is, Maya, I now remember what I was like when I was with you. And I liked that person much more. Feeling herself blush, Maya snorts. So what? You want me to be your moral compass? No, Maya. His voice drops. I want you to love me still. I've missed you. I can't go back to how things were before. Not anymore. Not when I know what it feels like to be loved by someone like you. You mean poor and average, she jokes weakly. I mean selfless, he says, reaching up to brush snow-dampened hair from her face. And brave. Kind. His thumb traces her cheekbone. And very beautiful. Maya smiles as she feels tears building behind her eyes, and she blinks them back furiously. Look, she says, voice unsteady, we started this thing when you weren't yourself. I'm glad your memories are back now, and eventually you'll realize you belong in that sparkly world of yours. And There's nothing sparkly about it, he interrupts. Not without you, Maya. His lips meets hers, warm and familiar and desperate all at once. He kisses her like a man finding air, like someone coming home after a long absence. I love you, Maya, he whispers. The curse broke because you loved me when I had nothing to offer but myself. Now I have everything, and the only thing I want is you. She looks up at him. This man who is both Ras and Adrian, both the lost soul she found outside a corner bakery and the powerful creature who stands before her now. Give me a chance, Maya, he pleads softly. Just one more chance. And despite everything, despite the pain and complications of the past 2 weeks, that loving him will bring, Maya rises on her toes and presses her lips to his again. Snow drifts quietly around them. In this small, ordinary place where everything first began, the rest of the world fades away until only they remain. Just the girl who found a wolf and the wolf who finally found his heart. Thanks for watching, everyone. Leaving a comment really helps in supporting this video. So if you enjoyed the story, let me know your favorite moment in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel.